Welcome back, everyone. This is Chris Petri. Today we are having some exciting um, ideas on painting larger paintings. I think it's really good to sometimes sit back and game plan and plan out kind of like a strategy when it comes to your artwork. Does this make sense? Um, as an artist, we have to sometimes take a step back and kind of think about ways we can get an advantage on how we're approaching our techniques in art, our paintings, our ideas. So it doesn't hurt to take breaks. Sometimes take some time off. I often take a couple weeks here and there, and just I don't really paint and draw. I'll just like maybe leaf through some books, some art magazines, and so forth, or I just think about my paintings and maybe look at some older paintings I did or some recent paintings I've been doing, and kind of just like take a break and just like maybe think about things more, and maybe do some strategies and try to watch a video or two or that I have in my library, or go on YouTube and watch a few videos and look around and maybe see some new people out there on YouTube that are making new art videos and so forth. So I'm like you. I'm just out there. I'm always trying to learn new things and think about what I'm doing and try to make my art a little better each time. And so here I thought a good idea for strategies as far as in painting larger paintings. Let's say you're painting paintings and you're kind of maybe working in maybe like an 8 by 12 format most of the time, or sometimes like a 4 by 6 format, and you're saying, well, maybe I'd like to do a 16 by 24, or maybe a 30 by 36 painting. It's good to maybe I would say it's good to have a few things in mind that'll really help if you are going to make that if you're going to increase the painting sizes when you're creating like finished paintings. Let's say if you're going to be making some paintings for a gallery show, or if you're selling your paintings somewhere and you want to bring them to an art fair or something, and you're thinking, I want to make some small paintings and I want to make some large paintings, but I've been doing mostly small. How do I go to the larger? So here I have an idea. I tend to always say it's great to make compositions first. So starting off small is always good, doing a smaller composition first. So I have a stencil here. So I just go in and I make a rectangle. And this stencil has numerous size rectangles. So I use this occasionally, and then if I want to do a larger composition, I just draw it out with a ruler or even by hand. A lot of times I'll just take my and just do a nice rough general idea of a rectangle to get my space of where I'm going to be working in on a piece of paper. And let's say this isn't going to be, let's say, my everyday technique that I always use, but I'll use maybe a looser technique right now, just so we can move along here in a decent pace and kind of have the idea. So let's say I find a picture in a magazine I like, or I take a photograph outside that I really like and I want to paint that, or I just have a creative idea of something where I have some shapes and ideas and I want to just create my own format or layout to my painting. So here we would start off small. We do a small composition, and we'll just I'm just going to pretend I see maybe a coastal scene here, and I'm looking at some cottages by the seashore maybe, or something, and we got some grass and stuff, and maybe some sailboats and then maybe in the distance here some cottages and houses by the shore, maybe on the bay. And then maybe a shoreline here. And maybe another some boats along here maybe. Okay, so we'll say this is our small composition we're going to do to practice up and get our idea kind of formulated. Maybe figure out our design layout, what colors we're going to use. So for this, obviously, we know when we're painting smaller, we're going to be using smaller brushes. So I have my round brushes here. All have nice, good points on there. These are Charles Reed series travel brushes, and I also have a couple. These are Da Vinci Maestro brushes. But so here we have the smaller size, right? And then when we get to the larger paintings, we're going to use the larger brushes. So if we're going to increase the size of our painting, we start off with our small painting. We use the smaller brushes. We're going to use less paint, obviously, less water. And then as we increase the size of the paper, we're going to use larger brushes, more paint, more water. We're going to probably have to move a little quicker because the paint dries a little faster when we're working larger. So let's get started here, and we'll just kind of go in. We'll do this maybe in 2 glazings if we can. So we're just going to really keep it simple. We're going to go, and also too, when we do a larger painting, we're going to be using much more of our palette. So I'm going to be using both sides of my palette. A lot of times you'll see me just work from here, because most times when we're doing videos together here, I'm using mostly just my upper portion of my palette. But then once we get to the larger size paintings, and then I'll start to use these other wells on my palette here. So we'll go over that maybe in the next video. I think this will be a 2-part video, most likely. So I'll take my cobalt blue. We'll get some cobalt blue on the palette. We'll go with a touch of burnt umber to just gray it down a little bit. And then we'll just go in and we'll do our first glazing. And we'll get some nice sky color in there. We'll just drop it right down in the foreground. And that's about it. That's the first glazing. We just let that go. We're going to leave it just as it is. We let this dry so that when we touch it, it's pretty much dry. And then we can go in with our second glazing. So this is more or less this is like a quicker, faster technique. I mostly use the alla prima style painting, where I'm just really going in and painting everything at one time. But then occasionally I will do some glazing. So this would be more of a glazing type painting, faster and looser style. And we're going to let this dry. So to maybe speed up the drying process, let me see if I can find my blow dryer here, and we'll maybe dry this a little bit quicker. And again, I wouldn't do this. I only use the blow dryer because we're live on YouTube here, and we're trying to speed up and get things done quickly so we can kind of like, move along faster and at a faster pace. But I always let my paintings dry any other time just naturally. It looks better, it soaks into the paper better, and it comes out much better when you let it dry naturally. So blow dryer is okay once in a while. It depends too on the painting, but as a good rule, it's better to let it dry naturally. Okay, so we're actually looking fine here. We have it's pretty dry. It's actually dry to the touch, that's what we're looking for. And then we're going to go back in, and we'll go back in with the same paint. This time we're going to tidy up our palette a little bit, take off the paint and water, because we're going with a thicker paint now, so we don't want other water that's been on the palette to disrupt our new second glazing here with our paint and water ratio. So now I'm going to go in and thicker paint straight out of the tube. and maybe a little burnt umber in there too, to French ultramarine, a little bit of French ultramarine blue, cobalt blue, a little bit of burnt umber. And then we'll go in and we'll do our distant mountains here. And now we're noticing this is like a middle tone. And then we're just going to follow our whatever you're using as your reference, you know, a photograph, a picture from a book, whatever it is. We just use that. There's some trees back there. There's a roof here. The sunlight's catching the top of that roof. Maybe we'll go in and maybe we'll put a little bit of raw sienna, just to change up the color a little bit, have a little variation in that color along there. And then we're going to go in with some burnt umber, almost pure paint, no, almost hardly any water whatsoever. Maybe a little bit of burnt sienna, a little bit of French ultramarine blue, so a nice dark, rich dark. And we'll go there underneath, so that'll be the shack, really in the middle ground here, almost the foreground. Then I'll go back in again with some more blue, French ultramarine blue, with some of the other paint as well that we just mixed. A little too dark, so I just thin it out a little bit. Okay, and then we'll do a little more. We'll mix again with some of the burnt umber, burnt sienna, French ultramarine blue. Then for variation, we'll go straight into the burnt sienna, straight out of the tube. Then we'll mellow that out a little bit with some blue. Then we can get some more burnt umber mixed in with a little bit of the blue that we just mixed and the various colors. Okay, notice that I'm kind of sticking with the same colors, and I'm going to add now a little bit of burnt umber and some raw sienna. And we'll start to get in some nice like sand color along the beach here. And then I'll mix it up a little bit and vary it. Maybe add a little more cobalt blue there, just to get a little bit of a cooler variation. Variation is always good with watercolors, to kind of change colors around here and there. And then back into the darks again for a little more shapes over here. And then some. And I'm basically sticking with this, I think this is a size 4 round sable brush. So we've been using mostly this the whole time, number 4. Okay, so we're ready to let this sit a little longer. We'll let it dry a little bit and we'll come back and finish this up.